Hello and welcome. The Purdue Institute for the Study of the Iranian World welcomes you to another episode of our podcast, Legacies of Ancient Persia. Join us as we further explore the many legacies of ancient Persia and its relevance to global patrimony. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Legacies of Ancient Persia. This week, our guest is Dr. Olga Davidson, a research fellow with the Institute for the Study of Muslim Societies and Civilizations at Boston University. In this episode, she recounts her serendipitous steps toward specializing in Persian epic literature, particularly the Shahnameh, and its comparative significance alongside Greek classics. She discusses the rich cross-cultural connections that shape her research, the importance of the Shahnameh, and provides an update on her ongoing projects, her views on the current state of Persian studies in academia, and the potential for greater inclusion in high school curricula. We hope you enjoy this episode, and if you like what you hear, please give our show a 5-star rating and review us on Apple or Spotify. Great. Well, thanks for joining me on the podcast. I'm very much looking forward to getting into this conversation. So I want to start us off and set a good base for myself and for the audience and ask you, how did you get into the field? How did you get into your field? I mean, we can build up to Persia because most people don't start there, of course.
So I will start with my field starting since we were chatting about this in classics. I majored in classics. Did Latin in high school and was reading Virgil. And my sister registered me at BU, and she sort of thought, well, she likes classics. And kind of as a joke, she signed me up for a Latin class, thinking that it was a joke because she hated Latin. And I took a class and it was on Catullus. And I never read naughty bits in Latin at all. In fact, at my high school, when Dido and Aeneas go in the cave, we had to skip that line. I'm dead serious. And we kept on saying, our teacher was Miss Gillum. I kept on saying, Miss Gillum, we skipped the line. And she said, never mind, Hala, never mind. And I said, but what happened? We can't just skip the line. And we just went on. And Sarah Morris was in that class. So Sarah Morris and I did Latin together. So long story short, I decided to major in Latin when I was at Boston University because it was the easiest thing I could think of majoring in, simply because all I had to do was take one Latin class a semester and I could do whatever I wanted. And then I decided to do Greek. And then Arabic was being offered in the classics department. And so was Persian. And so I opted for Arabic. And then I started Arabic sort of the last couple of years as an undergraduate. And then I was doing summer school at Harvard with Sarah Morris, and we were in a class with Glenn Bowersock reading the Satyricon. I can't tell you how funny this was. And so Sarah was doing Greek with my husband, Greg Naj, and she was also doing the Satyricon with Glenn Bowersock. I was doing Arabic with, oh shit, I can't remember his name. Oh no, I've completely pulled a blank on the name, but it'll come. And then I was doing, I think it was Mahmoud Roul. And then I was doing Latin with Sarah. And so we basically did it that summer. And then because I met Greg, and Greg asked me out. No, he didn't ask me. He sort of pursued me, but in a very subtle way. And he'd asked Glenn to introduce us. This was before, this was not an issue in 1973, whenever this was. So he, was interested, and Glenn introduced me to him. And then Greg would basically date me and all of my friends for the whole summer. And then this is a true story. Okay? This is exactly how I came to doing what I'm doing. Then he said, at that point said, he sort of proposed me quite a few times. But I kind of knew I was going to marry. In fact, I knew I was going to marry him within the first lunch because I really thought he was great. And so, but I had to run away from the whole summer because I was really young. I didn't want to get married. And then the way he won me over was to say, because I did tell him, I'm only 22 or 23, and I said, I wasn't waiting to get married. And he said, that's okay, I'll wait. It's teleology that matters. And I went, wow, tell us, what a line. So I said, fine. And then I decided, what's the point of waiting? Because we're going to get married anyway. But one of the things was I decided it'd be really boring if we were in the same field. So I was sort of thinking about switching to Arabic and Persian. And basically, that's what I did. I was debating between whether I wanted to work on the Mu'allaqat or the Shahnameh. And I secretly wanted to work on the Shahnameh, but I hadn't learned Persian yet. And so for the first year, when we were first married, I was a special student at Harvard, and I started Persian with Wheeler Thaxton. And then when I went to Princeton, I did a lot of Arabic and a lot of Persian, but I wrote my thesis on the Shahnameh.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, well, one, I just admire you being like, you know what? I don't want to be in the same field because that would be inherently boring. Or not even boring, just
But
too much
as
overlap.
everyone says, I haven't forgotten my classics. I can still read Greek, sort of. Oh, I can read it, but I'm a little rusty.
Hey, I mean, it never truly goes away. If you put in the
Yeah.
years, I mean, I'm sure that if you had to do something,
No,
you
no, no. I
pull it
can,
back
I can,
in.
I can work my way through a text.
Yeah, exactly. See, it never goes away. Gotta pick up those skills that will just stick with you. So, yeah, okay. So you did the Shahnameh. Did you always have sort of an interest in sort of these epic books, epic things? Because I feel like there's so many different
Sort
things you
of.
can.
I mean, I read the Arabian Nights when I was a kid.
Mhm.
and I and I read fairy tales, which I really liked. I actually really did like fairy tales, and I like Grimm's fairy tales and stuff like that. So as a kid, I kind of ventured towards that area. Then I read a hell of a lot of Enid Blyton. Don't ask me why, but I did because we read. And then, but I'm trying to remember. In high school, I did do classics, and I was into it. And then, oh, I don't know. I know. And I read all the Narnia books, if that makes any sense. It was sort of along that line. That was what I was like in high school, reading that kind of stuff. And then I'm trying to think of other things that I did. When I graduated and sort of when I was young, I think one of the things that really got me is, oh, I know. When I was in college, I was really into Russian tales. So I like the long tails and stuff like that, but that still doesn't quite count. But what happened, this is completely bizarre. I always liked manuscripts and I always liked miniatures. And I did see the miniatures, but I was in college at that point of the Shahnameh because they were being exhibited at the Corning Glass Museum. So at that point, when I saw that, I figured that any text that would have that gorgeous illustrations had to be read in the original. And I did know it was Indo-European, and I did know it was parallel to, doing with the Iliad, the Odyssey would be kind of work with it. So that's all I knew. And then but this is again when I was always an undergraduate, being a classics major. I remember spending a summer in Germany doing rekindling my German. I grew up in Switzerland, so grew up speaking French and German, but I'd only had did it up till age 11, so my German was kind of limited to what an 11-year-old will talk about in German. So then I spent the summer in Germany. And there was one time I was, weird things. I was in Köln and I was looking at all these wonderful manuscripts. I was really attracted to manuscripts and how they have the lettering. So that's one thing. And then I had an aunt who I had some German relatives, and I had an aunt whose son was going to Berlin, and he asked whether I wanted to go along. And so I went and we snuck into East Berlin. It was very exciting because I passed for German at that point. They just said, don't look too enthusiastic and look depressed. So I did that to visit other relatives. And then I left my cousins and I walked I decided to walk from the middle of West Germany to the middle of East Germany. So I walked through Checkpoint Charlie, and it was just really exciting. I was wearing a bright red coat. I was being really obnoxious. And then I went to the Pergamon Museum, and then I saw they had an Islamic collection, and I suddenly thought, oh man, this I need to do. So it was that simple. Very visual. My
Okay.
attraction was very visual, but I did like the stories. And I'm very sort of pattern oriented.
Okay. Well, that makes total sense to me because
Yeah.
I look back at my own first brush. I was in sixth grade and I just saw the pyramids and I was
Yes.
enchanted, right? Enchanted. And then you
Yeah.
start looking at the books that maybe have certain full color photos of Greek art or whatever it was. And then you
Yeah.
just go, oh my gosh, I want to know more. It's so beautiful. Knowing nothing about it, but saying
Yeah.
it's
Well, I had known that if I had known that the Greek statues were painted, I would not have gone into classics. I just thought Greek was boring and white. And this is before I met Greg. To me, it's like boring white statues, but very nice butts and incredibly good feet. And
Great.
now, actually, I've been doing a whole series of painting things, and I've been painting a lot of red figured vases. And I have really appreciated what one can do with an eye glance and feet, and especially with, geometric vases. Oh my God, I could go wax poetic about geometric vases, but I won't do that here. We're talking about Persia.
Oh, it's okay. Don't worry. We love all
We love
antiquity.
all of it.
We love all of antiquity, especially since so much of it is tied up with Persia in some way or another,
Yes.
as hopefully the audience who've been listening to this show have seen through our 2 seasons. Anyway, so yeah, my undergrad experience, we didn't really get to talk about Persia. I think we did a segment on Persian Wars during sort of the Greek culture and history class, and they went really quickly over. I think we did it in a week. It was
Right.
so sad. But, that's, I guess, to be expected from an undergrad level. You don't get into anything in depth. So, yeah, basically coming into everything, I always say, full disclosure, my knowledge of Persia is limited to what I've either gleaned from working here, or gleaned from these conversations that I have with experts on things. But then I also realize, that's not bad. It's good because maybe a lot of people who start with an interest in classics come to Persia later. I have.
Mhm.
And so one of the things I would love for you to just tell us about for anyone who's, maybe not super familiar with Persia things is the Shahnameh. I know it translates to Book of Kings, but can you just tell us a little bit about what it actually is? Because I think that
Okay.
at least with people that I've talked to who aren't very familiar, they just go, "Oh, that sounds nice. What is it? Is it
Okay. So the
literally the
plot
Persian
summary.
equivalent of, epic something?"
The plot summary is the succession of kings from the beginning of time until the Islamic conquest. So you start from the beginning of time. And the fun part is, and then the other thing which I always tell people who did classics is if you did the Shahnameh, it's like having the Iliad and the Odyssey in the entire epic cycle. So you've got it all there. That's what makes it really fun. And then when my approach to doing all of this stuff was to be very comparative. So when I was an undergraduate, I did write my thesis on Heracles and his role in the Iliad, which is rather small, but he was held as a model. And I read Dumézil, and Dumézil did a whole thing on Shishupala and Staccato and Heracles, but didn't have that much on Heracles. And so I really went to town. And then Zumizil really liked what I did on Heracles. So I was very lucky as an undergraduate to have someone like Dumizil think I was worth talking to. Because so I was very happy. And it was published in Arethusa. I had two things published when I was an undergraduate. One on that on the Heracles paper in Arethusa, and then I also did one on the Dolaneia because I was very interested in the Dolaneia in the Iliad. And so I did both of those and then remembered them. And so then when I started doing Persian stuff, I always did it through the lens of comparative study. Even though I just couldn't help myself. And so when I wrote my thesis, I basically applied Dumézil. If somebody says, "What did you do your thesis?" I said I applied Dumézil to half of it and Albert Lord to the other half of it. And that's how I was trained, and it worked. As far as I was concerned, it worked very well. And I was lucky to have it recognized very early because the whole thing was published in Acta Iranica when I was, again, the first thing that happened to me. So I was very lucky to be recognized early in my career for what I was doing. And then I just never stopped. But what I loved doing, because when I started teaching, I taught a course called, what is it called? The Epic of Heroes Stories. Wait a minute, I'm pulling it blank. This is where I get old. It was basically Epic and Heroes and Epic, but I had a very good title for it. I've just pulled a complete blank on what I actually called the course. But the course was we had to teach, it was taught in something Rich Brandeis had, which was called University Seminars. We had to teach Genesis and we had to teach the Iliad for the first semester. And then the second semester, they usually have sort of Dante or King Lear or something like that. They never could make up their minds about what they wanted to do for the second semester. So what I did do is that I basically did very comparative stuff with the biblical stuff as well as and did a lot of the classics. And then for the second semester, I had generations of Brandeis students reading King Lear maybe in 2 weeks and the Shahnameh 6. So I had a heavy agenda, and I also had to read Kalila wa Dimna Epic of Hero Stories, something. I'm sorry, I just cannot remember what I call this course. It was a very good name for it. But anyway, so what I would do is I would ha teach, and I do Kalila with Dimna, I would do the Arabian Nights, I would do the Shahnameh, and then also the Nibelungenlied, which I loved doing. I could go on and on about the Nibelungenlied. So I do the Germanic stuff and also the Heimskringla. And so I would do all of these things, and it was a really fun course to teach. And I taught this for a long time. And I was very grateful to be able to do that for such a long time. And so that's how I basically what I did with most of my teaching life until they changed the course and had us do other things. But still, I always did do this comparative stuff.
Ah, that's fantastic. Wow, I do love a good comparison. I mean, I did comparative politics in Southeastern Europe for my master's, so obviously
Yeah.
there's something really great about
Oh,
comparing.
I also did Old Irish in the comparative course, the Toyn.
Really?
Oh
Ooh.
yes, because that works perfectly. Because there's a and we actually have a book out which is Erin in Iran, where there was a conference comparing Persian and Irish.
Whoa. I
And
mean,
there's a lot.
th
There's a lot that are very comparable between the stories of the Toyn, the cattle raid of Cooley,
oh
and
wow.
Rustam's story.
That's insane because I think there are certain places I think where, yeah, I feel, okay, there's natural crossover. You're going to find stuff. I know right now there's a lot of work
No,
being
it's the
done.
detailed ones. That's where I really go nuts. It's the detail.
Okay. Because there's a lot of work being done between certain things. I mean, right
Yeah.
now, this past year, it feels like at UCLA, there was a lot of emphasis on Persia and China, which makes sense.
Yes.
Silk Road connections. But yeah, Ireland is not one that I ever would have been like, oh, yeah, there's crossover.
What's super, super interesting about it is that if you think about what is Indo-European, it's a language, and this is what Dumizil is not only a language, but there's also ways of looking at how they divide the society between kings and priests, warriors, and health and wealth fertility types. And so one of the things which was very interesting for me, especially with the Old Irish, was the parallelisms between Rustam and Cuchulainn that were so strong. And also there was wonderful parallels between Isfandian and Ferdia. And that was something which I would, you could really, it was sort of, just a little tiny bit of a different thing, but the parallel images and stuff like that was just too strong to say, oh, it's an archetype. It was more than an archetype. So if you think about it, you have Persia that stays pretty much as Persia because it's surrounded by mountains, and you have Ireland. So all the stuff that gets sort of mixed up deliciously with Greek and stuff like that with Egypt, that all gets in sort of, mixed up together. But suddenly something like Irish stays pretty much the same way as well as Persian. But I always say it was not a leprechaun that came to Persian to go and study with a goofy Sufi or a Sufi going to Persia to Ireland and decided to, try his luck at the end of a rainbow. It was really basically very old myths that happened to be preserved in a certain way with the two different societies that were kind of separate, if that makes any sense. Then
Yeah.
if you get to, then I'm sorry, I have to go on about the
Yeah. Yeah.
lead. So I was once teaching a course, I was TAing for a course in Middle High German. And we were reading the Nibelungenlied. And I told the professor he couldn't deal with the Nibelungenlied. It was all about clothes. He just said it was courtly stuff, but it was all about clothes. But I loved it so much because the way they would do feasting and fighting, which I don't know if you know my work that well, but I spend a lot of time fussing about feasting and fighting. But there's this wonderful moment in the Nibelungen where Volker, who's a minstrel, he's recording during a feast that Kriemhild has prepared, and he's recording and then stabbing people. So he's actually the singer, stabbing people and eating people at a feast. And it was, if that makes any sense, because Kriemhild invited everybody to a feast and decided to kill them all. And they're all sort of wading knee deep in blood and stuff like that. And there's the Folka, the minstrel, recording and stabbing with his bow. You have no idea how happy that made me. And then somebody says, what a foul feast Kriemhild has prepared for us. So,
Uh,
and then then I decided to read, I tried to read it. I wanted to read it in Middle High German. And this is, as a kid, I spoke Schweizerdeutsch, which everybody makes fun of. But when I was reading it when this, because basically I was just auditing a class at Harvard for middle high German, I suddenly realized it wasn't that foreign to me because it was like Schweizerdeutsch, and Schweizerdeutsch is just a very archaic form of German.
Wow, I mean, it's so interesting because I don't have any background really with German, but it's just from hearing you describe this, I have a little more knowledge of Norse history and literature, and I'm like, wow, that sounds almost like it could be, pulled right from the Icelandic sagas or something as well. So,
What you would love is that, my husband started this course, summer school course in Greece, and it's basically empires. And Michael Hewitt teaches Greek and Roman stuff. And he does the Greek. I mean, I was he does the Chinese. I'm sorry, I'm being stupid. Okay. He does the Chinese. Emma Dunch does the Roman stuff. And they have a wonderful dialogue about comparing Chinese and Roman stuff. And they really do a wonderful thing. Then my husband, and then I was once sitting in and doing this stuff, and I kept on saying, there's an area between China and Rome. It's called Persia, maybe? And so my husband now, he and I do the Greek part, and then I do a small part of Persian, which is always very fun because why is Xerxes never mentioned in the Shahnameh? But that's a whole other thing because that's what I've also loved the fact that everybody thinks of Persia as Cyrus and Xerxes and things like that, but they're not in the Shahnameh. Bet you didn't know that.
wow.
But
Sorry.
Darius is, and that's basically because the Shahnameh didn't consider the offshoot, which brings Cyrus legitimate, because there was a conflict between who was going to succeed, and Cyrus was considered from the right family.
Oh,
And so
interesting.
the Shahnameh doesn't have. I mean, Rahim did a whole. I mean, the Purta Center did a whole thing on the Cyrus, and Rahim asked me to do Cyrus in the Shahnameh. I was thinking, interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I was looking because I was looking back through because I was pretty convinced. I'd convinced myself. I said, "Wait, I think she came and did something, a talk." I was like,
Well,
"I
both
know
of
I
us
saw
did
that."
it. My husband was there too, so we both
Okay.
did a talk at that time.
Okay, because I was like, I know we had
Yeah.
it was either a conference or a workshop or something. I just remember
Oh,
seeing
it
it
was
somewhere on the
fun.
website.
Oh, it was really fun.
Oh, was it? Okay, good.
Oh
It
my
was
God, we
before
had
my time
gas.
here, so sadly I was not present for that. But it sounds like it
Well,
was
it was a
amazing.
long time ago. I think you're probably in grade school.
Oh, okay. I was like, well, okay, maybe we're talking about a different one. I was like, I saw you came and did a talk for us in 2022.
Yes, that was on Room.
Uh,
That was fun.
okay. Okay.
And that was fun looking at all the naughty bits. There's a lot of naughty bit pictures being thrown around.
Okay,
And
wait, I have to know though, what is your favorite now? I think the audience deserves to know what is your favorite.
the conferences?
No, the naughty bits that you keep
Oh, the
referencing.
naughty bits. Oh my God. Oh my God.
You keep
Okay.
referencing, so
I
now I'm
mean,
like, I have
okay,
to ask.
Raheem has his naughty bit. There's a vase in the Getty
Okay.
where Persians are very worried about Greeks who have, shall we say, phalluses chasing after them. Is no. Anyway, and then I can't remember who the guy is who was so funny. But anyway, there was a very, very funny guy who was he. I just pulled a blank on his name. He's going to hate me for forgetting his name, but I'm sorry. But anyway, then there was another one, and it was little seals, but they were Persian little seals. And there was a seal of a woman looking at herself in the mirror with the guy, shall we say, approaching from behind. And I nudged my friend Nilufar Fatui and I said, Persians. She was all like, oh, those Greeks. And I go, that's Persian. And I just love those seals. So that's all the naughty bits. There was a lot of naughty bits about this, but it was a fun, fun conference.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, now I'm even sadder that
And
I.
Sarah Morris was there too.
Okay, I'm
We
even
all talked to
sadder.
that, but
Yeah.
it was a really fun conference.
Oh, good.
But except it also became a COVID super spreader
Even in
because
2022?
in 2022, it was a COVID super spreader. It was really funny because we all traveled. We all had our little, we wore masks and that whole bit. We had COVID tests. And then as we left, I wasn't feeling particularly well. Nilu, my friend, got COVID. And she was blaming me, but I never got COVID. Or if I did get COVID, I had COVID for basically a half a day. I had a pink plus for a half a day. So I think as my blood type was just like I wasn't a COVID person.
Huh,
I
interesting.
was lucky that way, but that was really funny because everybody got. So I always say I went to a nerd fest in LA and it was a COVID super spreader.
That's a great description for a conference. I'm going to describe
They
all
tried
future
so
conferences
hard. They
that way.
tried so hard, but we're having too much fun.
See, I'm going to describe any conference now as a nerd fest because I think that sounds more fun than
It was
conference. Because you say
a nerd
conference,
fest.
you're like, oh, another conference full of talks. And I'm like,
Oh my
no,
God, it was
more than
fun.
that. Okay.
We had gas.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I love that so much. I love that so much. Okay. Well, I mean, okay. Shauna May, all the things you've mentioned so many, and now of course, my ADD brain is going everywhere trying to pick up on all these, find a thread that I want to continue on because you've provided me with so many. Goodness. Okay. Okay. What do I, it's like having a box with tools and not knowing which one to play with first. Okay. Let's see. Where do I want to go with this first? Oh, here's one. Okay. So, Persia, it's this amazing big place. There's a lot of connections everywhere. Where's some place that you would like to see more research done or find more connections with Persia that we haven't really, gone towards yet?
Gosh, that's a really good question. I think, it's funny. I think the thing is, there was once a conference that I went to, or Nerd Fest that I went to, and it was kind of based around the Mongols, and we were doing pseudo Shahnamehs. And that to me was really interesting to see how I gave a paper, and I'm trying to remember exactly what I did on that paper, but the point of my paper was to show that on a text that was was praising some Mongol person, they wanted to be as good as the Shahnameh, so they were using as much of a Shahnameh language as they possibly could to make this person look epic and cool. And that was fun. And so little things like that. And I do think that then I also think, I know that Syriac now has become unbelievably interesting. But now Syriac is becoming a really interesting topic, and people are doing, especially people who do its classics. But I think things in that direction, I think is very excited that people are going in that direction. And then I did go to a conference in China, and I had a very good time. It was all on folklore, and it was a nerd fest in China. And there they had a panel. I'm trying to remember what they put me on as a panel, but I was doing there was another Iranian there, but I remember just thinking how interesting it was, how interested the Chinese were in Persian. And then, oh, I don't know, stupid things like that dumb Marco Polo movie, which I really secretly loved. I loved that because they had so much singing in it, and they had performances in it, little things like that. It's that type of stuff of performance I think is the most interesting stuff. And so it's the performative aspect of epic that I find the most interesting. And that is, you have that all over the place, but that is something that I think is very interesting and should be, seen.
Yeah. Oh, I think that would be great. I think that'd be
Well,
amazing.
it's people are doing it now. That's the part that's really nice. And what's happened to me, which is really happening, which is incredibly interesting to me, is, we all sort of think about class. I mean, classics is pretty, classics hasn't died at Harvard, and it won't. But where classics is really being studied is in China.
Hmm.
And that I find that I love. So, there've been so many smart people who come and know their classics from China. They come and they do it, and then they go, they continue doing it. But there's some really fun people who my husband hangs out with, and I just know them by proxy, that I really like to hear. They're doing stuff. And so, and I'm not even going to go into Trump and Harvard and trying to stop everyone from doing everything. By the way, I'm sorry. How great was it? I'm just so glad that no one showed up to his parade.
I think same.
I know I almost wore a t-shirt saying rejecting monarchies in 1776 for this interview, but I decided no, that's politicizing too much.
It's okay. I mean, I would have enjoyed it. The audience will not see the visual
I
version,
know
so they're
it looks
getting,
it
yeah.
exactly.
So it's okay. We'll keep that for us.
Yeah,
Anyway, so one of the things that I was also realizing after, of course, I asked you about what we're not doing, though, is even with the things that are quite well known within Iranian studies, that again, some of us may or may not be aware of if we're not in Iranian studies. So, one thing that I want to pick up on, especially since you work with Shahnameh, is when we think about just the corpus of like the great works or the great
right,
classics or whatever convoluted term you want to talk,
right.
call them, we get Homer, we get Virgil, we get all like an assortment of things, but they don't ever include Shahnameh,
I do now.
do they?
Oh, yes. Now people do. People do read the Shahnameh. I mean, put it this way. At Harvard, I'm very happy, proud to say that most people in the classics department, at least for one period, would know of the Shahnameh, do the Shahnameh, care about the Shahnameh.
That's
And
fantastic.
that is because there was, a lot of crossover. There was a lot of, dialogues going on with certain people. Okto Sherva was somebody who, he was a very good linguist. And he would get people interested in the Shahnameh. Jeremy Rao now was a student of Okto Sherva, and he was at the Center for Hellenic Studies, and I knew him when he was there. But we talked about the Shahnameh all the time. But he knew it because of Okto and stuff like that. So there was a lot of that. Then Justine Land, and then there was really a growth and fun stuff going on at Harvard with Persian stuff. A while ago.
Okay.
Now I think it's more at BU where they have really
Mm.
good people doing Persian. So but BU is very lively, lively in Persian studies. And the other thing is that there's, tons and tons of performances. And, Harvard had, I proudly say that I started one of the first Persian clubs at Harvard when my husband and I were housemasters at Courier House. And so I decided to start a Persian club. But then of course you had to have three Persian clubs because nobody, and so then it finally becomes two Persian clubs. I don't know how many Persian clubs there are now at Harvard, but they do have it. They're very active and they have Persian movies. Everybody likes Persian movies. There was a wonderful woman called Sheza who was taught Persian movies and she was teaching Persian and she was really great at teaching stuff like that. So people just know their movies. That's, if anything, it's because the movies became so good. And then the other thing is that, there's also everybody reads Rumi because they just read Rumi. And then you have that. And then, with Hafiz and Sadi and stuff like that, I don't know how many people, I mean, people are aware of them, but there have been some really good translations. And that's what makes, if you have a good translation, like the Conference of the Birds is a it's a really wonderful tale. And they have a beautiful translation done by Dick Davis on the Conference of the Birds. If you have a good translation, it's so manageable. If you have a bad translation, you want to kill yourself. I used to teach, when I was at Brandeis, I was teaching the Shahnameh from the Warner translation. We just make fun of it. But you'd have these, when you have a beautiful translation that's, you can work with, it's fabulous teaching the stuff.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm glad to hear that it's being done now, although I'm going to venture a guess that you do need either a larger, vibrant sort of, or you need a person who does Persia, basically, which is something we didn't have at Missouri. So
You do now,
maybe.
Sally. Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't been there since 2018, so I couldn't say. But
there was somebody doing Persian. Maybe I've got the mix because I'm sorry, I am one of these complete East Coasters and
okay, no worries.
moved up in these Western states, but I'm
It's
pretty sure it was the
okay.
University of Missouri
Okay.
that they had a guy was teaching there. Oh, Paul Lazinski, I used to teach at Missouri, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, he's
But
at
I don't know how,
Indiana.
he may have left before you. Yeah, he
Yeah,
left.
maybe.
There was at one point they had
Okay.
at Missouri.
Okay. Well, be that as it may, not every place can have
Yeah.
someone
No,
doing
it's
Persian
not.
stuff.
So,
So,
but the thing which is good is that when I was starting it, I started at Princeton, we did have Persian. Richard Fry was in Iran when I was going to graduate school. So I didn't meet him, I worked with him, but much later. But I mean, I did Sogdian and things like that as a post grad,
mm,
as a post PhD. And then, Columbia always had Persian, NYU had Persian. But then it started becoming, Texas and Arizona, and there was a lot. It was pretty amazing how many places would to start teaching Persian and having centers doing Persian. And so to me, my favorite Persian departments are for me, I just like the people there enormously. University of Chicago and UCLA.
Okay. Yeah,
But
yeah.
you have really fun people who do Persian at UCLA.
Oh yeah, I mean this is I mean, I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna say one of the premier hubs I think in the country
Yeah,
that is
absolutely. And then,
Persian.
Berkeley used to be good.
Mm.
Stanford had Persian. San Diego, they've all have they so you basically had it but beforehand. So it really did spread. And it was, thanks for the Persians for really, making sure that they had the, funding it and stuff like that and setting up
Yeah.
uh
Well, they can still do better. But what I'm curious about actually is even
yeah.
before you get to the undergrad level, like I'm also thinking like in high school, they wouldn't have taught us about, but we knew about the Iliad for sure. And I mean,
Yes.
about it. So
No, that's a special, there you have it. Yeah,
yeah, I was gonna
because
say, what
now
do we
you can
need to
learn
do?
Arabic now.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, what do we need to do to get, even like I don't know,
I
simplified
don't
version. What do we
know.
need to do to get it into
They
high
even
school?
have really good, even those stupid, which I really love. I actually love graphic novels, and they're fun graphic novels of the Shahnameh,
So why
and
don't
they're
we use
fun.
those?
Yeah, well, that is exactly. I mean, to me, I would just, my granddaughter knows about the Shahnameh
Okay.
because that's
Good.
what she says, all this art to look at.
Yeah. I know we
Um,
gotta find a way to get it in so if we're gonna be introduced to Shakespeare and Homer and all these things as young as high school or even before then, I'm like, why not Shahnameh?
yeah, I agree. I agree because it's fun. It's really fun stories. But remember they had that goofy movie? What was the movie? They did something. What was it? It had, I can't remember they did something Shahnameh, hero-y, and it was a movie and stuff like that. And then and I'm trying to remember, it's, Gyllenhaal, Gyllenhaal was in it. Something, doing something. I can't remember what the movie was, and I didn't really watch it, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
And then
I can't think of anything he's been in
of
that.
course. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Can I just say my favorite character in everything ever was Cyrus in the what's it called? What was that stupid movie called? About the wait a minute. Oh my God, Raheem will kill me. It'll come. It's that stupid movie with Lena, and they had Cyrus was played by the guy who was, oh God, he was so funny coming down the steps. The is on the tip of my tongue.
What
The
was it, the
not
300
that doesn't.
sequel?
It was, it was a stupid movie about the Spartans getting killed.
Or 300, but I'm talking, but he wasn't in the original, so I'm thinking, was it the sequel, 300 Rise of an Empire?
No, there was. I think it was 300. But the guy who was Cyrus was also. He was also in Love Actually as the gentle guy. He was so funny in Cyrus coming down the steps.
Oh no,
I
wait. I'm so
loved him
embarrassed
so
because I'm like,
much.
wait, I can't even remember. I can't even remember if we saw
Okay,
Cyrus though.
watch 300 just for Cyrus coming down
Okay.
the
Because I'm
steps.
like, I
He
thought it
was
was
the most interesting person
okay.
because they made everything look so, because I remember, the Persians were outraged because they made them all look like, monsters and fantasy figures.
Is there a
But
montage
Cyrus
where they're
walking down the
showing
steps was worth everything.
Darius? Is this a montage where they're showing Darius growing up before Darius takes over as the
No, there was another one that I think that did. No, Cyrus, the 300 has the where the Spartans were driven out. And
Okay.
so they died. And so you have, but Cyrus comes down the steps to confront them, and it's really great.
Okay. I have to rewatch because I
Okay.
can't
The
remember.
other one that deals not with Cyrus, but another Cyrus, which is really fun movie, which I love more than anything else in the world. It's a complete cult movie, is called The Warriors, and it takes place in New York City.
Okay. I've
So
never heard of it.
I'm now giving you, because there's been a lot of really fun things. But getting it going in high school is a very, it's, it to me, it's so doable because the pictures. And the
Right.
story is great too.
Right. It's interesting because now that you're mentioning all these things, I'm trying to think. Actually, one of my first interactions with Persia of any kind, not
Yeah.
particularly ancient, was they gave, well, not high school, but my parents gave me the graphic novel of Persepolis.
Yes. There you are.
And I read it. It's Marjane Satrapi, and it
Yeah.
was gorgeous. And then they made the movie of it. So then I saw that, and they kept the same kind of graphic style.
Be very glad to know my granddaughter just read Persepolis.
Oh, excellent. Wow. So,
Yep.
so yeah, I had that in high school and I loved it so much. And then I remember, I think it was maybe freshman year in college, but she was at an event. And so I couldn't go. And I remember being so angry. So I quickly called my dad and I said, can you grab my copy of the book? Can you take it and get it signed for me? Because I can't go. And
Oh,
so, yeah, I didn't get to go say hello, but he got a signed copy for me. So
excellent.
yeah, I loved it, and I didn't think it was too mature or whatever for
No, it's a great.
preschoolers.
It was great. My granddaughter, who's just finished her freshman year at a freshman year, was reading Persepolis,
Okay.
and she's very proud to tell me that.
Oh, good.
And she has
Yeah.
read the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Yeah, yeah. See, so I'm just like, if high schoolers can get and be okay with things like Persepolis, I'm like, we can do Shahnameh in
Of
graphic
course.
novel form in something else. We can do it. We can do it one day.
But I have one fun fact,
Hmm.
which I did say at the conference, the Nerd Fest Super Spread,
Uh-huh.
COVID Super Spreader, is that I did point out that Ferdowsi's name
Hmm.
is carved
Mm.
on the front of the Boston Public Library.
Oh.
Now you know.
Well, everyone who goes to Boston, go to the library and try to find it. It's like a hidden
Yes, it's
treasure.
not that hard to find, but it's right there, a little bit to the left.
Okay.
On the lower levels of they have every famous author and stuff, like whatever it is, but Ferdowsi, they spell it wrong. They spell it the Arab way, but Ferdowsi's up there.
Okay. Well, I'm going to challenge anyone wants to, who's
Go
listening
find
to this.
Ferdowsi and take a picture and send it to you.
Oh, yes, exactly. Send it to us or just share it with us
Yeah.
and we'll repost it on social medias and all these wonderful things. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so from a quick Google, anyone on the internet can find the publications, the many books that you've done. Out of curiosity, though, are you working on anything currently that you would
Yes,
like to
I've been
tease?
working on this for a long time. My husband and I, we're going to celebrate our 50th anniversary this year. So
Congratulations.
what we're going to do is we're going to have two things. We're going to do Lives of Ferdowsi, Lives of Homer,
Mm.
and I've been working on translating the prefaces to the Shahnameh, which I find super interesting. And I've done pretty much most of the Baisangur translation, which is I could I don't even start me on how interesting the Baisangur introduction is. But the very beginning of it, I'm working with Nagin Yavari on this, and both she and I have looked at the very beginning, which is so carefully constructed to be as inclusive as possible, even if it's in its language. But that is tough, really tough going for the once he gets to the narrative, that's easy going, but there's the first, part that's really tough. But anyway, we're working on it. It'll be done. That is what I'm, my final thing, which I'm doing, is that's what I want to do. And so I've been working, I have published tons on, bits and pieces on the Baisangori introduction. But what I really want to do is have this and have a comparison from Lives of Homer, because poets' lives to me, how they're told is so interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
that, and I've done a lot on Kalila Dimna. I've done a lot on, fables, because I'm really interested in fables, what they are about and stuff like that. But I also am really interested in how the fables are introduced. And so there's, I've done a lot the introduction stuff, Kalila Dimna.
okay. Well, I mean, I will just say the output of your work is so massive that it would be impossible to cover here. So I'm just going to tell the audience if they're curious, just have a good Google. There's so many things. I'm sure there are a lot that are available
Oh
online.
yeah. Oh yes, and I
And
do have, if they go to well, we right now we're merging with New Alexandria Foundation, but the ILEX Foundation is going to merge, but we do have with the ILEX Foundation, many of my books are available free.
oh, good,
So
good.
you could just, you can just click on them and you get, I think I have Poet and Hero and Comparative of Stories, or whatever the other one's called. And I also have Shreve Simpson and I did the Millennium, which millennials, I can't remember what we called them. I'm sorry, I'm being, oh yes, the Ferdowsi's Millennial. So we did
Okay.
that. And then we did another one, which is kind of fun on Turkish stuff. But anyway, Persian stuff in Turkey. And so that was another book we did, but they're all available.
Okay,
Um,
good.
they're all available, and you just click on it. It's a little bit tricky, but you can just click on it and then download the whole thing.
I will
Because I'm
try
a
my
big
best.
believer in making publications very inexpensive. That's one of the reasons, because we are the opposite of Brill. The Ilex Foundation is we don't have a book that's over $30.
Good. Well, I'll do my best to find like links and stuff that I can just put in
Yeah.
the show notes for people to click on. But yes, you've heard it here first. You can find
And
most
that's
of
also
it.
the Irene in Iran book series is in that. That book, Irene in Iran, that's also by Alex Foundation.
Oh, great. Okay, so
And also the book that we did on Cyrus.
oh, look at that. They're all there.
They're
They're
all there.
there. Okay, that's perfect. Well, I'll make sure that those are in places that people can find. Oh my goodness. There's so much more that I'm could get us into, but I think that you and I would be here all day,
Forever. But
potentially all
but
night.
the thing is, if people are looking for them, they're under Harvard University Press because they're publishing partners.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. Oh man. Okay. I had a question in my brain, but I'm like, I think it would keep us here for another hour. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to say, always leave people wanting more, not less. So I am instead going to just rotate us to sort of toward the end of each podcast. There are two questions that I like to ask everyone who comes on this.
Okay.
Interested in learning more about the wonders of ancient Persia? Visit the UCLA Archaeological Gazetteer of Iran. The Gazetteer digitally preserves famous locations, World Heritage sites, and lesser known areas from all time periods of ancient Iranian history. You can explore using the interactive map or visit the encyclopedic catalog for updates to the ever-growing list of archaeological sites. Visit www.irangazetteer.ucla.edu and learn more about what the Archaeological Gazetteer of Iran has to offer.
And the first of these are, what, in your opinion, do you think is the greatest legacy left to us from ancient Persia?
Golly, the greatest legacy from ancient Persia. Well, I really like Persepolis. I mean, Persepolis is a really extraordinary thing. I also like Nakshi Rustam. I like Cyrus's tomb.
Yeah.
So I'm just talking about that stuff because as far as legacy is concerned, you can't get rid of tales, but something, if the Israelis bomb Persepolis, which they won't, but that's the kind of thing that was, to me, I went for my honeymoon to Iran in 1975 and saw this, and I just loved it.
Yeah. I mean, it looks very
I
nice.
couldn't,
All the
I
photos.
just couldn't. Persepolis, I really do think is just the most wonderful thing in the world.
Well, one day maybe we'll get to go. I don't know
Oh
when.
yeah, it's not going to go away.
Yeah. Good, good. But
It's not going to go away, but really interesting. And also Cyrus's tomb is,
all the images I've seen look gorgeous. I just
yeah,
wish it were easier to travel to Iran as an American right now.
right now I wouldn't go, but
Yeah.
who knows?
Who knows? Maybe in the future we'll be able to, because that would
Yeah,
be really nice. But yeah, no, I mean, there's no wrong answer to that. So I totally agree. Persepolis is amazing.
yeah.
Anyway, the second question I have for you, though, is what, in your opinion, do you think would be the best legacy that we as scholars can leave for future students of Iranian studies?
An understanding of comparative studies. I think that one thing that's really important is for Persian, instead, because there's a tendency that I've noticed, which seems to have died, is that the Shahnameh can only be understood by Persian men, probably. And to me, that's so idiotic because anyone can read the Shahnameh in Persian, just like anyone can read Shakespeare in English. It's not, you don't have to be English to read Shakespeare. And so I find that's the most important thing. And I personally take great pride in as much as I possibly have brought Persian, whether it was at Harvard or whatever my books was, I made it comparative so people wanted to learn Persian in order to, you know, do Greek or something like that. And it's not considered weird anymore. brother-in-law used to teach at UCLA and he does Old Irish, but he's very interested in Persian. And that's one of the things is I think that is something that is extremely important is to understand old literatures and look at them in their time, what they were dealing with. And I think that one of the things which I liked the most about the conference in 2022 was they all the coins and everything was the cross conversation on those coins was just too good to be true. And I think that, looking at things in isolation with barriers and stuff like that is you could know where things are, but it's also the crossover. And I do find coins one of the most wonderful ways. I never understood numismatics until I realized how interesting numismatics was. But that's because people show me good coins.
That's very fair. I didn't really care about numismatics either until senior year of college. And then I was taking this Byzantine class, and then someone
Yeah.
said, "Hey, look at these coins. Look what's on them during iconoclasm and then not iconoclasm." And I said, "Oh
Oh,
my God."
yeah. Oh my God, that's the other thing when you were saying is Byzantine going into this whole stuff. I know this sounds really corny, but there's this really endless Turkish soap opera called Ertuğrul, and it's really fun, but it goes on forever. But you just have to have, you go through too many Templars and too many this, but it is how the Seljuks came in um, to Turkey.
Wow.
It's
Well,
fun.
there's this is what I love about living today. There's going to be something interesting that has been done that if you're like, I want to learn more about this, just go
Yeah.
and find
Well,
and watch.
I'm not opposed to video games or any of this stuff as long as people learn by it.
Yeah, I that is something I talk about a lot in my personal work and
Yeah.
research in classics, of course, not really. I mean, I haven't found a really great video game that does Persia yet, but as a classicist, there are some great
There's
games.
some great ones. All you need to do is get me. I think it's going to be. I think we will probably, hopefully, from this conversation, inspire someone to make a really awesome video.
There
Can you
has to be,
imagine
right?
Saha snakes coming out of his shoulders? Oh my God, you'd have a good video
I
game.
mean, just make a video game, you choose. Do you want Cyrus,
Oh
Cambyses,
yeah,
one of the
well,
Dryas's? You can go later in time,
Alexander.
Alexander, you could do the Parthians and something.
You could do an Alexander video game where you look at Alexander, who the Egyptians claim, the Persians claim, and the Greeks claim, obviously claim. I don't know if you saw that. Rather, it was kind of an okay documentary that Netflix did. I think it was Netflix that did it,
Yeah, on
called
Alexander.
Alexander. But they had all these things. But I was thinking, one could have a really fun video game.
That's what I said. Yes, because I knew several of the scholars who were interviewed for that documentary.
Yep.
And it's funny because they were all saying, oh my gosh, they really did what you're seeing on screen and the dramatized parts weren't really matching what
No,
all the
but it
info
was,
they
you got
gave.
the idea.
Yeah. But so many of them said, yeah, like this would lay the groundwork. I mean, imagine, yeah, a video game with Alexander and you're taking him through his conquest of Persia. That'd be great. That'd be
Yep. You have him being a Persian, he wasn't conquering Persia. He was just claiming his rightful place. He was the rightful heir.
exactly. See, so
Oh my God, you could
do
have so much
multiple
fun on that.
campaigns. You would have so
And
much fun.
all of his, because what the fun part, which I love about Alexander and the Shahnameh, is he's just poor guy. He just kept on conquering stuff, and he was looking for God. He just went up the wrong path. Chesed went one way, he went the other way.
See, this is great.
And then, oh, can I, I'm sorry, I have
Yeah.
to say, because I love lament. But what I loved the lament, which is a very short lament that Roxana had about Alexander, because she basically, you have the longest wedding,
Mhm.
Castahati wedding about Alexander marrying Roxana, stuff like that. And then when he dies and she's supposed to lament him, she basically says, this is just my way of looking at it. Hi, you conquered a lot. You didn't leave much behind. You're dead. Sucks to be you.
What a great, yeah.
It's a little more flowery than that, but that's pretty much the message she has. You conquered a lot. You left nothing behind. Sucks to be you.
We love that. It's great, though. This is why I love looking at interesting women from history.
Yep.
Amazing. Well, the last thing I'm going to ask you, though, is if someone wanted to get in contact, ask about a publication, any of the things, follow the work
Oh,
that you're working
they
on.
could just email me.
Okay,
It's very simple. Davidson at fas.harvard.edu.
perfect. Well, I'll put
Plain old Davidson, no Olga, just plain old Davidson.
all right. Well, I'll make sure to put that in the notes.
fas.harvard.edu.
Perfect. I will make sure that's in the show notes. And then if they want to do that, they can chat you up to their heart's content. And I hope that maybe someone will use that email who's currently making a game and says, you know what, I need
I know, I would be so happy. It would be so great. I mean, I don't play video games at all, but I know they're popular and I know that they're fun.
You don't
the
have
only
to
video game
play
I've ever
them
played is I was doing
to
Duolingo,
school.
which is basically a video game, and I could see how addictive they could become.
I mean, look, my whole philosophy is you don't need to play them to consult for them.
Right.
So if anyone is making a game on Persia, Alexander, or even a movie, I don't know, documentary, something, you found your historical consultant. She is here and
Yep.
very willing.
Okie dokie.
So, well, thanks for joining me. This has been super fun. Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me.
Legacies of Ancient Persia is a Portavood podcast production, hosted and edited by Lexi Henning, with select episodes co-hosted by Marissa Stevens. Cover art provided by Hadley Leesman and original music by Brent Arhart. Established in 2017 as the premier research center for the study of ancient Iran, the mission of the Portavood Institute for the Study of the Iranian World is to engage in transformative research on all aspects of Iranian antiquity, including its reception in the medieval and modern periods, by expanding on the traditional domains of old Iranian studies and promoting cross-cultural and interdisciplinary scholarship. Thanks for listening to our show. It's available to stream on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Portavood Institute and at Portavood UCLA, or visit our website portavood.ucla.edu. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give us a 5-star rating and review us. For podcast inquiries or questions about the Portavood Institute, please email us at portavoodpodcastproduction@gmail.com. We'll see you next time as we continue our deep dive into the legacies of ancient Persia.